everyone, I'm here with another episode of The Witch's Bookshelf, and today I'm going to be reviewing Witch in Darkness by Kellyanne Maddox. So this book came out last year, and I did pre-order it, so I got it when it first came out. So just checking here, 2024, yes, so it came in, I think it was the fall of 2024, so I've been reading this book on and off for a couple of months. I didn't sit and read it all the way through. And I was intrigued by this book because if you've been a follower here for a while, then you know that the past couple of years, I've had quite a number of deaths in my family and, just around me. And it's been a bit of a trying time. And I feel like, there's times in our lives where we have things go on and it seems like when it rains it pours, right? Like we'll have a stretch where things are pretty good and then all of a sudden a whole bunch of things happen. And I think that's not unusual. Like I think a lot of people sort of experience that at times. And so I felt like this book seemed to come out around like at the perfect time. And so I thought, I'm going to check this book out and I'm going to see what I think of it and read it and review it for you. So these are my honest opinions. I was not sent this book. I'm not being paid by anybody. So Kellyanne Maddox is, she's a YouTuber. She's been around for a long time. She's also written a book called Rebel Witch. That was her first book that came out. And it says here, let the craft bring you strength, endurance, and hope in hard times. And that's what this book is about. It's about the craft when things are not going so well, when you're struggling with things. Like it can be anything from, depression or addiction. You're having a hard time with your health. You've lost loved ones, your pets died, like all the difficult things that we have to deal in life, because let's face it, life isn't always just sunshine and roses, right? As much as we wish that would be. So her first book, Rebel Witch, I have to admit, I tried reading it and I never got all the way through it. And this is not any criticism of the book. I think the book just isn't for me. It is definitely a book for beginners. And I think maybe at the time, like the writing style or something, I just wasn't into it. And so I didn't finish it. So no offense to that book, no criticism of that book. I just think it just wasn't really for me. This book though, I did finish, read all the way through and finish it. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. So first of all, let's do a shout out to the aesthetics. This beautiful cover here. Love all the little witchy things going on here. The snake crawling up the tree, the big eye here with the pentacle in it. We've got here a beautiful book here. There's all sorts of things going on. There's like a potion bottle in the shape of a heart. We've got like a little cup here. Like it's just candles. Like it looks very witchy. I do quite like the aesthetics in this book. Also, like, there's touches of, artwork in here. The way that it's, laid out looks very appealing. Like aesthetically, this is a very aesthetically appealing book. I'm trying to see, there is some illustrations in here. And it does have very like a tattoo sort of style, classic tattoo style kind of, vibe going on. And I do like that. It is a very pretty book to look at. So first off, shout out to the aesthetics. I do love myself a hardcover as well, so do like that. Also, love the red in here, like that black, white, red aesthetic. Very lovely. So shout out to that, first of all. Secondly, the way this book is organized, I think, is pretty good. So it starts with part 1, which is called Raw and Real Witchcraft, and it's really kind of introducing you to this. So it says, things like preparing for when things are going to be not so good, because that's going to happen in our lives, right? So it talks about like when things are good, maybe preparing some things, putting energy into certain objects, or for the times when you don't feel so good, maybe creating things like a sacred blanket, or, it has examples like that. So about setting yourself up for when things aren't so good. Also, realizing that when things aren't so good, we're not going to have the energy to make a giant ritual or do all these things. So lowering our expectations of ourselves and what we can do during these times. So it really kind of has this nice introduction about, sort of what you need to do for these times. Like even if you're not going through a difficult time, how you can help yourself when you are. If you are going through a difficult time, how it's okay if your practice changes and evolves, or you have to downsize things, or you have less energy for things. So very good in that way. And then the part 2 is called What Can Be Done in the Dark, and it breaks it down into different issues. So we have here everything from, when we're not feeling so good mentally, if we're having issues with our family, If we are emotional issues going on, if we're, going through a time where we are sick or we have chronic pain going on, toxic bonds with others, breaking bonds with, either a breakup, going through a breakup or a friend breakup or something, what we need to do there. If we're feeling like we don't have enough, that's something that's not talked about a lot, is what we do if we're feeling like we don't have enough money, if we're lacking things and resources. Also, like not feeling inspired as an artist can be an issue. And then there's things like feeling like we're not connected spiritually. We're going through a dry spell spiritually. She also talks about things like addiction, like pretty serious things like that. Dealing with, a world that's kind of gone crazy right now, let's face it. And also like dealing with death as well. And then we have part 3, which is extra supports. This is very like question and answer type stuff. So things like fear and uncertainty, helplessness, or feeling like low self-esteem or self-belief, and then doubts. So I think it's well organized because you kind of have an introduction that kind of puts you into, what to do or how you might be feeling, if you're going through a difficult time. And then it talks about very specific issues, and then it kind of has the Q&A at the back. So I think it's organized really well as a book. Now, as for the contents themselves, I think her writing style is really great. It's very personal. It's very approachable without dumbing things down. I think there's a real fine line between that. I don't like things that are like overly academic, although, I have read books that are quite academic and been fine with it. But sometimes when somebody's overly academic, they use too many big words, it's kind of dry and kind of a put off. And especially when we're talking about things that are going through a difficult time, we don't want something like that, right? And she does use like personal stories and things that have happened to her, or, things people talk to her about. So it does personalize things, I think, quite a bit, where she's really talking about experiences with things, which I think is important, right? Because it's it makes it a lot more personal, a lot more approachable. I think her writing style too is very approachable without like sort of assuming that it doesn't dumb things down, which I do like. As for the content itself, I think it's very helpful. She gives lots of suggestions in these different chapters of things that you can do. So for example, here, one of the chapters is Body in Darkness, which really talks about when you're going through difficult health issues. And so she has a section about tapping into nature's healing gifts. So she has different ideas like collecting healing crystals, looking out for animal bones, collecting those. Water received from a beloved river or shoreline. So looking at the different elements. Storm water. She talks about designated seasons for healing. So working with the seasons, working with the earth. She talks about different spells, like a comforting spell. Fresh Start lemon juice is one of them. Chili with a kick, like you working with food for that witchy kind of energy. Receiving divine breath, working with the breath. Creating an astral retreat, somewhere you can go to on the astral plane. Releasing pain with poppets, working with poppets is another thing that's here. And I think that she gives you lots of different ideas, and you can use those ideas and adjust those ideas. So I love that each chapter has all these different ideas, and it really is like a springboard for inspiration. It isn't like, oh, you must do this thing, you have to do it this way, right? She's giving you lots of ideas to work with, because you may have different like resources, different time, and different energy levels. So I really appreciate that. Also, one thing I have to say about why this book is organized is at the end of each chapter, not every chapter, but some of the chapters have a tarot spread. I think that's really, really handy. She also has write it with questions, so you can journal about these things, and then speak it with affirmations. So each of those chapters ends with that. I think that's really, really helpful. It gives you like a tool you can use right away. So you can pull out those cards, you can do some journaling, you can, write that affirmation, put it in your journal, put it on your mirror, whatever it is. So I think that's really handy. So I do like that she gives people lots of ideas of what they can do and encourages people to adjust it for themselves. So I really appreciate that. I think this is a really helpful book because there aren't a lot of books like this on the market. Like there's lots of beginner books, and we need beginner books. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And there's lots of books for, different spells for different things. But I think you'd be hard pressed to find a book about what to do when things are difficult, what to do when you're going through the hard times. And so I think that this is a very interesting book because it's not, it's not something that you see all the time, right? You don't always see these kind of books out there. And so I think it really fills a hole that's in the market. And I think, especially, like I said, going through like a difficult time with, losing loved ones and stuff in the past, 3 years, I found this book to be very compassionate. I think this book has a lot of really great ideas in it. And I think it's one that I think a lot of people would benefit from having on their shelf. Now, I'm not here to say you must go buy this book or anything, because I think that there can be over consumerism for sure. But if you're going through a difficult time and you're wondering how you can use witchcraft to support that, or you're even just interested in reading about it, I would recommend this book. So I'm going to give this book 4 out of 5 stars. Now, just to be clear, I rarely give 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5 is like, this book changed my life, right? 4 out of 5 to me means this book is very good. I would recommend it to most people that are interested in this subject. I think it's very well done. So I would give this 4 out of 5 stars. Let me know what your thoughts are. Did you read this book? Is it on your list? What are your thoughts about this particular book? As always, thank you so much for being here. I'd love to hear, your comments on this. Please put comments below, like and subscribe, of course. Thank you to all of my patrons. You guys make this possible. You're amazing. I love you so much. If you want to check out my Patreon, you can definitely check it out in the link below. I also have an Etsy shop for readings if you want to check that out too. But just thank you so much for being here and for listening to me ramble about a book for a while. And as always, I'm sending you so much peace and love.